Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody. How are you doing today? Get your favorite cup of coffee, get cozy, get a blanket. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is where we come to lift our vibrations, align with our highest and best selves, and create our ideal realities. I am Dr. Carrie, your resident metaphysical practitioner, and I help women eliminate their depression and anxiety so they can go on to create a career and life they love. Good morning, good morning. Hello, Hazel. How are you today? So, what I wanted to talk about today, and put in the comments if there's something else, if you have any specific questions on something. But what I wanted to talk about is, so we're going through this pandemic. We're we're all under quarantine. We're all in this together, going through this together and dealing with this together. But everyone has their own responses, their own interpretations of what's happening, their own insights, insecurities, fears, hopes, whatever, right? So even though we're all going through this together as a group, everyone still has their individual reactions to it. Hey, good morning, Beth. Thanks for joining. So what I wanted to talk about today is, so if you believe that you're an infinite spiritual being, which is what we talk about here, and that life is happening for you rather than to you, which it is, then everything that we go through is an experience for our evolvement, is that a word? For our evolutionary process, for our spiritual growth, for our expansion, right? So if you take, I always tell you guys, we are manifesting every minute of every second of every day. You ask for something and the immediate reaction, the responses that you get are your answers. So if you say you want a house on the hill in Hawaii and then your car breaks down, how do you instantly react to that? That's telling you what trapped emotion you have that's keeping you from what you ask for. Because it's when you ask, it is given. And the only time it takes for you to receive what you've asked for is the time it takes for you to get yourself in the vibrational receiving of what you're asking for. Right? Does that make sense? So if you're asking for something and you're still asking and asking and asking, you're getting the answers, you're getting the solutions, you're getting the solutions, you're getting the house in Hawaii. But if you're still over here asking, where is it, where is it, where is it, you're keeping yourself in the lower vibration. You're keeping yourself in the asking mode rather than the receiving mode. And why are you asking for what you're asking for? Probably because you think you're going to feel better when you receive it, right? So then your job is to help to get yourself feeling better about it. So that's why I always say, you have to pretend like you already have it. Because when you can pretend that you already have what you're asking for, now you're on the vibration of having. Do you see now you're on the same vibration of having it rather than asking for it. Does that make sense? So how has this time, this quarantine, this pandemic, this everything that we're going through right now answered what you've been asking for? And when you can step back and try to look at it from that vantage point, it can help you feel, at least less hopeless, powerless, you know, all these lower vibrations. You can say, okay, well, this is happening for me, for the evolution of the planet, for the expansion of all of us, for our growth factor. Maybe we need to go, you know, this is a quantum leap that everyone's been asking for, that now is our opportunity to make the leap into understanding that we have the power to heal ourselves, which is what I talk about. You know, it's like everything, our bodies are miraculous in that they keep us alive and keep us, you know, living and breathing, and their cells turn over, and our you know, our nails grow, our lashes grow, our hair grows. We're not sitting there saying, oh, you know, on my to-do list, I have to, you know, make sure that I'm blinking. It's an automatic response that our bodies do to keep our eyes moist, to keep our vision clear, to do that. But when we hold on to some old traumas, trapped emotions, limiting beliefs, then we're not allowing our bodies to do what they're naturally programmed to do. Optimum health is our natural state of being. We don't have to do anything except get out of the way so our bodies can keep us there. But that's not really what we ever focus on, is it? We focus on, oh, how do I just get through this day? Or, you know, so many times we're body shamed, fat shamed, life shamed, you know, fear. We're so fearful. We're in stress all the time. So if your body is just focused on stress, you know, the stress is supposed to be, you know, like a sprint, fight, flight, get out of there, get away from the saber-toothed tiger, get to safety. But we're constantly living in that. So now all our hormones are exhausted, the body, the blood is not getting to our brain. We're not thinking properly. We're not thinking clearly. We're just trying to just get through this day. Oh, if I could just get through this day. You ever catch yourself saying that? Or do you say, I'm so excited about today. I feel fabulous. I feel wonderful. I feel, you know, are you feeding your spirit with positive vibrations? It's not just about thinking positive. It's about feeling positive, acting positive, living positive, being positive, right? Mind, body, spirit. They all have, you have to do, say, think, and act all in the same way. So if you say, if you're talking to people, so if you meditate for 20 minutes and you're like, yay, I feel good, I meditated, but then you just go to work and you stand around the water cooler bitching about, you know, all the aches and pains that you have, or, you know, whatever, or listening to other people complain about the aches and pains they have. Carolyn Myss, I've heard it different ways, Miss Mays, M-Y-S-S, she talks about it being woundology. You know, the language people speak is woundology, because it's so natural now for us to complain about our lives. And if you are trying to be happy and positive, then people just think that you're boasting or you're bragging or you're, you know, it's like, it's so common to drag down people who are starting to change their life for the better and feel better. I'm going to take a drink. Everyone take a drink. Just relax for a minute. Think about that. Just real quick, this is my favorite coffee that I'm drinking today, and I have creme brulee coffee creamer in it, and it's just delicious and wonderful, and I'm so happy. So I hope you have your favorite drink. This is my favorite little work mug. It's just called, oh, there's a glare on it, but self-stirring mug, because it actually is battery powered. And I think I've showed this to you before, but I just love my cup. Ready? if you're like me, but it'll take me 2 or 3 hours to drink a cup of coffee. So I like the stir factor, especially because I do use creamer. So it just mixes it all back up and makes it all creamy and frothy again. Anyway. So that's kind of the thing that happens. I was talking about when you're starting to feel better about yourself, better about your life, making progress, understanding that life is happening for you and not to you, and that you have the power to create your ideal reality, your friends might not agree with you. Right now, technically, the collective conscious might not completely agree with you. But it's true. And we have to be, we're on the leading edge of thought here. We're going to say, okay, well, that's fine that you don't believe it, but I'm going to try and believe it. I'm going to pretend that I believe it, and I'm going to see what happens. And when they see your life changing, then most people are still, I got to see it to believe it. But we have to switch that, and it's believe it to see it. So you may lose friends, and so many people are afraid of that. You're like, oh, but I would never want to lose my friends. It's not that you're going to lose them. It's hopefully you're going to then inspire them to get their energies up there with you. Because just as much as misery loves company, so does happiness, so does fun, so does, feeling good and feeling empowered and having a wonderful life. So if your friends don't want to keep up with you, then, you can check in on them every now and again and say, oh, are you still living that woundology life? Or are you ready to come over and have fun with me? Oh, well, I just can't get up in the morning. Whatever. And then you say, great, good luck with that. I'm going to go have fun. I'm going to go, on wonderful vacations. I'm going to go play with my family. And even in this time of quarantine, you can still have fun. I mean, how many of us have asked for more time with our family? How many of us have worried about the public school system and, what's going on and, shootings and this and that and that and just, so how many of the collective parents have been saying, I want to keep my kids home where it's safe? So this is an answer to that prayer. This is an answer to that question. Now you get to say, okay, I like it, I don't like it. Let's adjust it. Let's make it temporary. Let's make it long term. Are you taking this time to teach your kids more about life than schools do? How many times do we talk about the schools? Kids aren't learning anything. They're just the standardized testing isn't helping nowadays. They need to learn more, do more, be more, whatever. So this, especially on a global level like this, when something like this, when something happens in your life that completely uproots you, that completely shifts everything, when you feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath you, that is your angels, guides, God, source, saying, you've asked for this, and so now we're going to get your attention because you've asked for it. So we're answering, and this is what you've asked for. So now how are you going to react to it? So, So yes, there are worrisome factors with this. My husband and I, we own a business and the sales are not going, but yet we still have bills. We still have employees that we have to pay, even though they're not coming to work. We're still going through it. It's, heady times. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but is it easier to be calm and collective about it? Is it easier to be, okay, let's focus our attention on what we can do, what we do have, what we're able to do? Or is it, easier to freak out and be worried and, oh, the end of the world it's the end of the world, and oh, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. Oh, pulling up the woundology. Whatever, there are no wrong answers to these questions that I'm asking. The answers that you come back with are your now choice to say, I use this example a lot. Remember those little vision tests? I don't know if they still do these, but it's like when you go to the doctor, the eye doctor, it was like, okay, which one's better? Which one's clearer? Number one or number two? Number one or number two? Number one or number two? It was just tuning in your focus, your clarity so perfectly, right? So that's what you get to do right now. Just say, okay, this pandemic is freaking me out. What am I feeling? Well, I'm feeling powerless or hopeless or whatever it is. Now that's the limiting belief that you get to work through, that's been handed to you on a silver platter. So you get to say, which feels better, to feel hopeless or hopeful? Now I will say hopeless and hopeful are actually quite a big leap. So you can say, which does it feels better, to feel hopeless or angry? Does it feel better to feel angry or frustrated? Is it better to feel angry or depressed? Is it better to feel depressed or anxious? You just kind of just ask yourself and work yourself up the emotional scale. I bounce up and down there a little bit. You can find an emotional scale. You can Google it or just, feel for yourself. But Google emotional scale. Abraham Hicks has a great one. I always talk about Dr. David Hawkins and his vibrational scale. That's when I say, shame and guilt are down there at like 30, whereas happiness is at 500, or love is 500, joy, bliss, those states. So you can get one of those, or email me or tag me or whatever, and I'll send you a copy, or look on my posts. They're in there. If you're in my Facebook group, I believe that they're in our file section. So take this time for you to really reconnect with you. I think that that's probably what this answer is. It's how do we connect more with ourselves? How do we connect more with our powers of self-healing? How do we connect more with who we are and who we want to be as a whole, as a society, as a person, as a spirit, as a collective, as an individual, right? Take another drink. This isn't a drinking game. That's not one. This is just straight coffee. But if you want to make it a drinking game, hey, have fun with it, right? So that, I believe, is what this is for. It's an answer to all of our prayers. So you get to say, well, what have I really been asking for recently, or a lot, or whatever. And most of us talk about time. We don't have enough time to do the things we want to do because we're so busy working, or we're so busy doing this, or we're so busy, being away from home and our families and our goals. Well, guess what? Here you go. You're stuck at home, and you can't. Well, some of us can't work, so or whatever. So now what do you get to do with your time? Especially with families. This is the opportune time to teach your children, and actually, I say teach your children, but learn from your children, because their vibrations are so much higher than ours naturally. So this is time for you to guide them, but also to remember what it's like to be a child again and have fun with this. You get summer vacation right now, spring break. When was the last time as an adult you got a fun spring break or summer vacation? We used to have 3 months. I don't even think the kids have that anymore. But anyway, hopefully this won't last for 3 months, but you get my point. It's really just utilizing this time, looking at it as a blessing. You can look at it as a curse. You can look at it as a blessing. Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining. You can utilize this time to really reconnect with yourself, to really find out what it is that you've been asking for. And there's John and Missy Butcher. I always like to refer to them because they have, I think, at least four kids. And they're also the CEO, they're on the boards of at least 7 different corporations. So as adults, they're busy, right? They're the precious moments couple, or, you know. And so what they've done is, this is just in life, this is not the pandemic thing, but what they've done with their kids is they decided to homeschool them because they didn't think they were getting a good enough education at school. Plus, they travel around the world so much, so they were, had to take them out of school all the time anyway. So now they're like, well, let's just, homeschool them. And then, but it's not just about, okay, doing the classwork online. It's, okay, go find something you're interested in, and then it's your turn tonight to talk about it over dinner. So the kids would go, they would watch YouTube videos, they'd research something, even if they were just playing their video games or whatever, they still knew that night they had the time, or if it was their night, they had to talk about what they did that day, what they learned that day, how did it affect them, what did they like about it the most, and really getting them the opportunity to find out what feels good to them, what drives them, what their interests are. And then I know people who teach their kids about cooking, but it's not just about, okay, stand here and stir the spaghetti. It's, okay, plan, you have $40 or whatever, here's your budget to plan tonight's dinner. So here's your budget, let's go shopping, or if you're staying home, here's the ingredients you have access to. What can you do with it? What can you make with it? And it's a bonding, learning, life experience, right? Do you want to raise children, or do you want to raise adults? Do you want to, how many of us, well, how many people do we know where the parents did every single thing for them, and yet those kids had a hard time turning into adults? They're maladjusted, they're, constantly either falling behind or getting in trouble or doing this or doing that, right? And I'm not saying this is the answer, because it always seems like no matter what you do as parents, it's wrong. But this is an opportunity for you to try something different, right? But so what I went off on a tangent about the whole thing. It's all really about connecting with yourself. So if you took this time to create a meditation process, what I'm trying to say is, don't exclude the family from it. So many of us are like, I don't have time to meditate because I have to take care of my family. Well, get your family involved in it. And if they don't want to, that's fine. Say, that's fine, but I'm taking the next 20, 30 minutes and doing this. Please don't interrupt me. And then teach them boundaries. We all have to have personal boundaries. We all have to, but it's when children learn by watching, not by what you say. Actually, I shouldn't say children. We all learn by doing. We learn by observing, we learn by doing, not necessarily hearing. We learn by repetition. We learn by example. So if you don't have a self-care routine, what are the chances your children will, right? So I keep getting off on that tangent. I don't know, just maybe that's the message that needs to be said today. Hopefully you're listening and learning, and this makes sense to you. Maybe somebody asked for this today. Because I'm going to talk about self-care and creating your own routine, but not. So we want to create habits, but we don't want to create a routine that becomes mundane. Does that make sense? You want to, because, well, we are creatures of habit, but to learn something new, you have to create the habit. So if you want to feel better, for 30 to 40 days, you have to keep telling yourself, I feel better, I feel better, I feel better. Now, that's to create the habit. You make the decision and you change, right? I've been posting things about Dr. Joe Dispenza, and people are at 4-day retreats, and they're, reversing cancer, they're reversing MS, they're reversing, they're getting out of the way so their bodies can get back to the optimal health stages. So when I say 30, 40 days, it's mostly just because that's when we're trying to incorporate it in our existing lives. But now we have this opportunity to, if we take advantage of the opportunity we have right now, you can completely revolutionize everything you're going through this week and just, reverse any health issues, reverse any fears, reverse any doubts. You just have to be proactive about it. And so when I was saying you create that habit, but you're creating the habit of being that higher version of yourself. When you do new things, you create new neural pathways in the brain. You're actually strengthening the brain. But then if you get into that habit too long, now you're not creating any new neural pathways. So then you always want to change it up. I don't know if you guys work out, but they always say, okay, after 3 weeks or whatever, you have to change it up because your muscles will remember and get used to it. So it's the same with the brain. We just, constantly keeping ourselves growing, learning, because we're adaptable. We can adapt to anything. That's part of our gifts. But we also want to be thriving rather than just surviving. But that's a choice you have to make. That's a decision you have to make. And then you have to back it up. And then you have to believe it. You have to feel it. You have to follow it. You have to listen to your intuition that says, if don't go there, go there. And you're like, but I always go there. Well, I know, but you just said you wanted to be something different, better, this, so go here. We argue with it. It's so funny because it's like, how many times you argue with that little voice that says, where's your keys? And you're like, well, they're right here. And then you go, oh, wait, no, they're not right here. Where are my keys? Or, but usually it's when we're halfway down the road. Did I close the garage door? Did I leave the iron on? When that little voice is like, oh, check this, check that. And you're like, but I didn't check that. Well, really, it's trying to take the path of least resistance to remind you or get you to do something that you would normally wouldn't do. Does that make sense? So are there any questions? So if you are, so once again, how has this time answered what you've been asking for? It's all about remembering who you really are, what you really want, the life that you dream about. Once again, the only thing that's keeping us from whatever we've asked for is the time it takes for us to get into the receiving mode, to get into the having vibration, to get into a different to embody that person that we want to be. But then we wake up in the morning and we go, oh, I do this all the time. I'll be so excited. I'll try falling asleep, and I'm like thinking about all the ideas and all this, and I'll just get so excited that I cannot fall asleep. And then, finally it's like, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm like, no, I gotta get up in an hour. And then the alarm goes off, and I'm like, oh, I didn't sleep at all. I don't know. Do you guys do that? Just me? Anyway, and then you wake up and you're like dragging through your day. But sometimes it actually is better just to get up and write down those ideas, so then you can go to sleep. I've learned when I do the Akashic records, or when I'm working with people and their energies, if something just keeps repeating itself, that means it's something that you need to address on a different level. So when you have those thoughts that just keep replaying in your mind, especially when you're trying to go to sleep, write them down. Say, I will deal with you first thing in the morning. I will get to this. I'm super excited about this, but I need my sleep tonight. So just just as a helpful hint, especially now, how many of us are lying there awake night after night going, oh, I got to get back to work. But that's just the fear playing out. So change that thought process to, what can I do right now? What can I do? We're so used to always wanting something we can't have. What can you do? What do you have? How can you make the best of this? We have unlimited resources at our fingertips. But go in the direction that feels better. Don't get caught in that woundology loop where people are talking about fears. And I will say, if they're talking about fear and you have fear in you, you are going to be gravitated toward that. It's your job to say, no, 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 no. I don't want that. I don't want to perpetuate this fear. I don't want to be living in fear. I don't want to, go with the masses. I'm going to improve my energy, improve my health, improve my stance, improve my life. And you just have to get the momentum going in the direction of what you want and away from what you don't want. Does that make sense? It can take, I say it takes time, but it only takes the time that it takes you to remember that you want to feel better, right? Rather than going back into the old habit of feeling scared, feeling woundology, feeling, oh, well, I felt better today, but I better go check Facebook to make sure everyone else feels better. Well, no, they don't feel better because they're in that collective masses. You feel better because you got yourself out of that collective masses. Now you either start the new thread, hey, I feel better today because I was focusing on the clouds and the beautiful day and what a wonderful spring morning. And hey, look, it's not like the sky's no longer there, right? And then you can talk about how you got to sleep in and how luxurious that was and how, you're safe and home with your family or your dogs or whatever, and send love out into the world. That's what we need right now, is not, they call it social distancing, but that's not quite the right phrase that they should have used, because that means that that almost sounds like you have to cut yourself off from everybody. Well, no, it's just physical distancing. We still have the social power, the energetic power of radiating love and health and happiness and joy, these positive vibes out there, rather than, feeling isolated and alone. So call somebody on the phone, write in your journal, pick up a book, binge watch all your favorite shows. Once again, this is the answer to your prayers. Now, I understand I'm not downplaying the seriousness of this. I'm not downplaying that people are getting really, really sick from this. But you cannot be sick enough to make someone well. You cannot be broke enough to make someone else wealthy. You cannot be sad enough to make someone else happy. You can only worry about you and your vibrations and keeping your energy up, keeping your health up, and sending out those higher vibrations to other people. But if you're down here in fear, scarcity, hopelessness, then you're just adding fuel to that fire. Does that make sense? You're just down here just keeping the vibrations low. And so try to utilize this time to connect with your higher power, to connect with your inner being, to do the things that you want to do. Just start that meditation practice, start that yoga practice, start the exercise routine, start learning how to cook, start, that craft project, start rearranging your garage, start, all those things that we say we never have time for. This is the answer to those prayers. Does that make sense? And so enjoy this for what it is. And if you're just joining me now, you missed the whole thing. But you've been asking for something in your life. And now this is your opportunity. Maybe you wanted to quit your job. Maybe you wanted to start that new business. Maybe you wanted to connect with that new friend. Maybe you wanted to, write the book, whatever it is that you have been asking for. This is the answer. This is the answer to what you wanted. You have to look at it that way, because that's what happens when your world gets turned upside down. It is the answer to the prayers. It's like, oh, you're serious. All right, well, here, we'll give you all the time you need. No, I just need a couple minutes. Just another day or two, and then we can all get back to work. Everybody healthy, everybody happy, right? But if we're worried about it and worried about it and worried about it, now we're actually lowering our immune system. So that's another reason why you have to feel good. Literally feel good. So you boost your immune systems. You're boosting those hormones that are keeping you healthy. You're getting out of the fight or flight mode or freeze mode, and you're feeling good, and you're opening your heart, and you're living from the higher levels. And you're like, yeah, easier said than done. And yes, it takes practice because we're not used to it. But I believe that is what this time is for. It's time for us to connect with who we really are, connect with our inner beings, connect with our spiritual selves, connect with our guide, our God, our source, that source energy that shows us that we're all in this together, that we are all one, right? Isn't that what's going on right now? We are learning that we are all one. My breath is your breath. Your breath is your breath. It's like we are all connected. This is global. You can see how small this world really is because this is global. So, and now we have internet, we have phones, we have email, we still have snail mail. I mean, that's still working. If you want to connect with somebody, if you want to connect with yourself, if you want to, do something that you've always wanted to do, plant that garden. It's spring. It's what, add more energy to the positive, because flowers and plants are positive, and they are here to counterbalance, counteract the negative. So there's so many animals. They're all just, animals are just, they're up here in these 500, 600, because they don't have the things that we have. They don't have it. they're just up here. So all of our dipping up and down in these lower vibrations is counterbalanced by nature. So add to nature. So I hope that helps. I hope you like that. I hope you just understand it. It's been raining here a lot, and I'm in Texas, so enjoy the weather. Sit, it's always, I just love being cozy. So hopefully you're taking this time to learn what you love. You love being cozy, you love being energetic, you love being, catching up on sleep that you haven't had for decades. What is it that you've been asking for that this is the answer to? So thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Let me know if you need the vibrational scale or the emotional chart. Once again, you can just Google both of those and find one that you like. Other than that, stay positive, stay healthy, stay home, stay, we are all in this together. We are doing, hey, we are using this time to take care of the things that we've always wanted to take care of, to reconnect with ourselves, reconnect with our spirit, reconnect with our families, reconnect with our souls. So use this time to the best of your ability, and we will get through this. So, do you have any questions? Is there anything going on that you would like to talk about? Let me see if there's any questions. All righty then. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you all. Stay happy. And remember that you deserve a life full of love, magic, and miracles. We'll see you next time, next Monday. Bye.